This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Forging Table. The mission of Undaunted.Life is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. At the Forging Table, you'll see a group of regular guys forging spiritual resilience by digging into God's Word, and we're welcoming all of you to come along on that journey with us. That's Jake, that's Ryan, that's Derek. Guys, we are wrapping up Genesis. We have been in Genesis for a very, very, very long time. But last week, we played a little game. Right? No, guys, come on. Like, you got to know what, Jake, why do you look so disappointed? Could it be that you were in fourth place by a mile?
I was.
So go back last week. We played this game called Discernment from Christians-Like. So that was a lot of fun. But what's funny about this is I ordered this and it was supposed to come in like yesterday, right before we recorded. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be perfect. We'll do it on the show. It came in between our recordings, right? And so like, that's why we did this, because originally I had this game right here called Cast the First Stone, also by Christians-Like. Okay, so what we're going to do is everybody gets a number, all right? And again, guys, I have no affiliation with Christians-Like. These are just ads that popped up on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. All right, so everybody gets a number at first. So, all right, Jake, you're number one, everyone's heart. Ryan, you're number two. Derek, you are number three, and I am number four.
Who does number two work for?
So, all right. Alrighty. Okay, so this is what we do.
I guess you after that lunch we had.
Goodness gracious alive. All right, so what we do is I'm going to read a statement on a card, and then we are going to put down who we think out of the four of us, like most exemplifies whatever the thing on the card is.
Oh, no.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
And so that's the stone you are casting. Get it? It's a stone that is cast. All right, so I guess everybody needs a set. So there's 1, 2. Man, these are not in order. All right, what do you have, Ryan? You got a 1, 2?
I got 1, 2.
All right.
I need a 3 and a 4.
There's a 3 and a 4.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, these are all mixed up.
You can cast one to yourself.
Break them up.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can cast a stone for yourself. If you're being honest.
This is probably...
All right,
Horn casts a stone for himself, Horn.
3, 4.
The Horn. This is... My self-deprecating nature is probably going to have me.
3, 4.
My total depravity.
Right, but
he wants to win, so he's going to vote for himself the whole time.
But initially, so like if I read like who's the forging tabler that Joby would love, I would put my 2 stone down, but I would put it face down just in front of me. Yeah. And then we'll all turn it over at the same time. We'll like show it to the person. So I think that's how it goes. I saw someone do this on YouTube. All right, so let's see how this goes. I don't even know how this game ends. We're just going to go until it stops being funny. So we'll see. That could be quickly for all I know. All right, so, I need my own set. Did I get myself a set? Nope.
No.
Come on. We'll do it live. These are going to be so messed up the next time I do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. People that are listening to this are like, what in the world is going on? Okay, so, all right, here I go.
You got 3 cards, bro.
I'm not. There's a 1. Okay, we're
Christian
back.
Likes. Can you make this harder than it really is?
My gosh. Yeah, no, don't blame them for me being stupid. All right, so here we go. The first one. So the first stone that shall be cast. We're in an orchard picking fruits of the Spirit. Whose basket is overflowing with patience? Everybody cast their stone, and then we'll throw it down. All right, on 3, turn them over. 1, 2, 3.
I picked the wrong one.
All right, so Jake and I both said Derek. You said me?
I meant to put myself.
I was like, bro. All right, so and then you say Jake.
Ryan.
All right, so you're obviously the most patient, but that is hilarious that you put me down. I'm easily the least patient person out of the bunch.
I didn't even make it on the board.
Yeah, right. Man. That makes a lot of sense. All right, next one here. Whose shoe collection could fund the church's outreach ministry?
I have no idea.
All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Literally everyone got a vote. So you voted for Jake. I voted for you.
Yep.
You voted for me. And you voted for Horn.
Yeah.
He said shoe, not cologne.
Well,
I figured anybody who has a cologne collection should have a shoe collection.
It would probably. I used to be like a big like sneakerhead guy, but not even like a big sneaker. I have like 1 pair of Jordans, so like that's not like a sneakerhead thing. Okay, all right. So there's a couple. We're learning about each other. All right, next one. Who changes their outfit the most before going to church? Yeah, everyone's gonna get the same one. Who changes their outfit the most before going to church? All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Everybody says horn.
I even voted for myself on that one.
that's
My wife
true.
gave me a hard time about that this morning.
That's awesome.
Like what? So why? What is it about the clothes? You just see yourself in the mirror and you're like, okay, this isn't matching my essence today. Do you have to reapply cologne if you've already got on the other shirt?
I try to get it done so I don't have to reapply cologne. So, yeah, it wasn't today. I think I knew what I was going to wear today, but yesterday we were going out to dinner, and I was like, do you think I should wear this other shirt? She's like, no, you look fine. She like rolls her eyes at me.
Don't ever say that back to her. Yeah, you look fine, honey. Let's go to dinner. That's not going to work out well. All right, next one here. Who has to pee at least twice during the church service? All right, on 3, 2, 1, go. Everyone chose me, guys. Is it that y'all noticed or did you guess?
You're just so hydrated.
Dude,
Yeah.
I have to pee literally constantly. Like, I will literally be sitting there in church like, come on, pastor. Like, come on. I know when it's going to end, but it's like 25 minutes. Okay, I got to pee.
You sit
I gotta
outside in
go.
the lobby because you have to pee sometimes.
Sometimes that is 100% true. I don't want to disrupt the rest of the congregation. I get up at least twice, more like 3 or 4 times every single night to pee. And people are like, well, don't drink right before bed. It would not matter. Like, I'm so hydrated throughout the day. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. And like, don't worry, guys. I've had all the plumbing checked. We're all good. All right, next one here. Who hasn't been the consensus person yet? You? Derek?
I think I was the first
No, you're
one.
the patient.
Neither one of us.
Jake?
Yeah, neither one of us.
Okay, he was the first one. So Jake's the only non-consensus person yet.
Yeah.
We're at Starbucks.
Perfect.
At Disney. No, that's not what it says. Not what it says. We wouldn't go straight to hell when you die. We're at Starbucks. Whose order is the most complicated? Three, 2, 1, go.
Shoot.
It's a tie between Ryan and Jake. All right, so let's hear your orders, and then Derek and I will determine who has the more complicated order.
A venti cappuccino with 2 raw sugars.
Okay?
Black coffee.
Ryan, you freaking hoity-toity over there.
It
What
was
is that?
Starbucks. I'll make my own coffee
No.
Okay.
if I want it black.
Black coffee over there. No jokes. All right, here we go. Next one here. Who always has the T? TEA. Who always has the T?
Is there a card for Cy Robertson?
No. That's the iced tea.
sigh.
1, 2, 3. All right, a tie between me and Winkler. Winkler, so I guess you strike them as a tea guy. There's literally tea. Y'all, I think all of y'all have had tea at one point or another at my house because I don't even drink it with caffeine in it. It's just for the throat.
Okay, we may be interpreting this very differently. I don't take it as literal tea. I mean, they got the gossip. They got the
it
juice.
literally says who always has the tea.
And I think they meant that as...
That's not a saying.
Yes, it is.
Who's got the tea?
Yes.
Who's got the tea
Have
on
you not heard
Mrs.
that?
Johnson?
I've not heard of
You've
it.
not heard that?
I have
Sorry,
heard
Miss
that.
Jackson.
No, you
Hold
have
on.
not.
I have.
You're lying.
Only from
Who has the tea?
Yes.
one of the high schoolers.
Okay, you
Yeah.
know what? All right, let's take
Is
take
it
a
like new?
Teenage daughters.
I think it's newer. Yeah.
It's
All
a
right,
newer
wait.
thing.
All right, so we'll
I'm worried
redo it.
about
We're
our
redoing it. We're
generation.
re-voting.
Okay.
So who's always got the tea? Who's always got the gossip? Who's always got the blah 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 blah? Okay.
No voting out of spite.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go.
I even said myself.
We still got a
Now
tie.
we're tied. Okay.
We always got that
All right, you
gossip.
two. All right, you know what? We'll just take
Hey,
the tie.
what do you got? What do you got right now?
Not the tea,
What do
because
you-
that's the
what tea
dumbest
do you
thing
got,
ever.
Rob?
Like I got nothing.
Let's hear it.
I feel like you fill me in on stuff all the time.
Actually, yeah. But it's not the gossip. It's not
I
like
guess
what's
that's
going on
true.
with our
No.
neighbors. Like it's what's going on around the world.
Information.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, yeah. And then I was the one with discernment on Andy Stanley.
Yeah,
So-
I win. You lose. All right, here we go. Next one. Who could raise the most money for a mission trip? 3, 2, 1, go. Wow, Jake. He could steal the most money, right? But
I wouldn't do that.
I figured like I'd just do a podcast about it.
I guess
You
that's
probably
true.
could.
Raise,
I mean,
Yeah,
raise some
that's
cheddar.
true.
Sometimes I'm
Loser.
like, want to be like, oh man, something happened at my house. So then Jake just floats me $1,000. Buy some new cologne. You know?
Oh yeah,
Just be like-
hey, my refrigerator's gone.
Yeah.
I need a new refrigerator.
Jake
Can
be
you-
like, what can we do to help? I'll be like, you got $1,000?
Yeah, I do.
Here we go. Next one. We're all going to dinner together, and it's on one check. Who is most likely to pick up the tab? Let's just turn them over right at the beginning. All right, Jake, money bags.
Jake's like, hey, you want to go to lunch? I'm like, yes, we're
Yes,
going.
let's
Yeah.
go.
We're going to Mahogany for lunch.
I have that thing. I'll go to dinner with people, and then I'll just kind of be like, to the waiter, are we on separate checks? And then I just kind of feel all the eyes kind
Look
of
right
pivot.
at-
They're like, is he
Are
going to
we?
say it's on one?
Jacob?
Please.
Please do it. Noah's Ark is starting to take on water. Who would start throwing animals overboard? Let's go. Let's just show him. Just show him. F those animals. I'm killing baby Hitler. I'm definitely punting a giraffe off that thing. Get off my boat, you stupid
Dude just
baby
kicked
giraffe.
a baby hippo.
Get him out of
He
here.
can swim.
Get out of here. Get him the heck out of here. Next one. Who would win the lottery and spend it within 48 hours? And go. Yeah, Ryan, it's 100% you. You're buying cologne
No.
and socks. Because,
Actually, you know what? If I won the lottery, I would spend it in 48 hours. I'd pay off my house.
Okay. Well, that's a lame answer. You got to give something ridiculous. Okay. You win the lottery. What is the first thing you do? Not what is the totality, but you have won the lottery. The money's in your account or however you get the annuity or whatever the thing is. What's the first thing that you buy?
Give 10% to the church.
Okay. That's a pretty good answer. 10% to the church. Bam.
Give 15% to the
Oh,
church.
look at you.
Derek, are you holier than
20%
20% to the church?
Is Pastor Mark listening to this?
Yeah, I'm buying a bottle of Lagavulin
I mean,
25.
Joseph,
So,
Joseph said
yeah.
20%.
I'm buying a bottle of scotch. And then we'll deal with the tithe and all that stuff later. All right. We'll do a few more here.
Probably buy a plane.
Who? Yeah, you would buy a plane,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? He is a pilot after all. Who would get famous on the internet by accident? Yeah, let's go ahead, Ryan. Yeah, we already know. There's no way. There's no way. Everyone already knew it was you. Come on. Yeah, that's why we all started giggling. It's not even close. Next one here. We're all writing a book. Whose would be a bestseller? One, two, three. Everyone's gotten a vote so far. Jake's still dealing with the Derek.
I got to
you're the
write a book.
best-selling
I got to
author.
write a book.
Very good. We'll do it. Two more.
Something tells me, as quiet as he is, he's probably got a whole lot of stuff that
He's killed some
could
people.
talk about. Yeah.
He's killed some people.
Yeah.
For sure. All right,
I'm
two
not
more.
a Navy SEAL. So.
He shot Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, we know.
When he was
we
3.
know. Who has the most crosses hanging up in their house?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Who,
I'm in
who
your house.
homeschools the hardest? All right. I'm going Derek. Winkler, right? Y'all got a lot of crosses up in the house?
Former Catholic.
Oh, yeah, Catholic, yeah. Jesus
that's
is
a
still
good
on
point.
That's
in your
why I
church.
picked Winkler.
Yeah,
Nice.
you win.
Yeah.
That's right. Last one, guys. Here, pick a random one. Pick a random one, Derek. All right, this last one, and you read it.
Who do you trust most to count the offering after service?
The accountant. Yeah. Right? Like, all right, we got to have
Yeah.
consensus there at the end. So we took the consensus. So there you go.
Yay, integrity.
God, you made integrity sound so nerdy just then. You somehow made that sound nerdier than when you were talking about Lord of the Rings. Golly. And everyone already
Hey, Jake,
knows.
look at you won in the end.
That's right.
Yeah, you did win at the very, very end there. All right, so that's it. So cast the first stone. But hey, today we are going through 3 chapters of the Bible. We're going through 3 chapters of the Bible. We're starting out in Genesis 48. We are closing out Genesis. So, Derek, if you wouldn't mind, let's do the first 21 verses of Genesis 48.
After this, Joseph was told, "Behold, your father is ill." So he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And it was told to Jacob, "Your son Joseph has come to you." Then Israel summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make you a company of peoples, and will give this land to your offspring after you, for an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons, who are born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, as Reuben and Simeon are mine. And the children that you fathered after them shall be yours. They shall be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. As for me, when I came from Padan, to my sorrow, Rachel died in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, "Who are these?" Joseph said to his father, "These are the sons whom God has given me here." And he said, "Bring them to me, please, that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. So Joseph brought them near, and kissed them, and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face, and behold, God has let me see your offspring also." Then Joseph removed from his knees, and bowed himself with the face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand, and Israel left hand, and Manasseh in the left hand toward Israel's right hand. I butchered that. And brought them near him. And Israel stretched out his right hand, and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph, and said, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys. And in them let my name be carried on, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." When Joseph saw his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he took his father's hand and moved it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, "Not this way, my father, since this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "By you Israel will pronounce blessings, saying, God make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh." Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Behold, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will bring you again to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you, rather than to your brothers, one mountain slope that I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow."
Yeah, so I appreciate that. There's quite a bit here. So Ephraim the younger is preferred over the older. We just see that all throughout Isaac over Ishmael, and then Jacob over Esau, and Joseph over Reuben. And now we see the same thing happening with Ephraim and Manasseh. And the one thing that I did want to point out that, actually the Reformation Study Bible pointed this out, but the line of the seed will continue through Ephraim, but it will transfer to the tribe of Judah by God. We see that in Psalm 78. But going back up to verse 12, we see Joseph bow to Jacob. And this is a big deal because Joseph is second to Pharaoh in the world, right? He's J.D. Vance right now,
right.
Like in terms of like powerful people in the world. Like he is second to the most powerful person in the world, but he still bows below the patriarch. And so there's just something about dad, regardless of what dad's job is, regardless of where dad's at and where his station in life is. There's something about the patriarchy, and I mean that in the best possible sense. But other stuff there on Genesis 48.
I think what we're seeing here is we're seeing the firstborn blessing being given. And so when they break up the tribes during Joshua's time, the Levites end up being scattered, which we'll go over in the blessing in the next chapter. But what happened is Manasseh and Ephraim become a tribe. So that become the 12 tribes. And so we're going to see here the firstborn blessing, and then we'll see the messianic blessing in the next chapter.
One, I think there's a bit of foreshadowing here too, as he says, like Reuben and Simeon, they will be to me. You can see that there's almost a planned replacement of Reuben and Simeon with Ephraim and Manasseh. And so it does make me, I did kind of wonder, so is this Jacob's double portion of the inheritance? Did he get a third?
Yeah, so back on verse 5.
Did he get a three portion or just,
because
just a two?
Jacob adopts Joseph's son, so
Yep.
Reuben and Simeon are being bypassed, so Joseph can get a double portion of his inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Reuben and Simeon still get land, but Joseph gets a double portion due to Ephraim and Manasseh getting land. If that's how I took it.
I think
that
we
make
just said
sense?
the same thing,
we?
but they're being bypassed.
They're being bypassed in the birthright.
I don't think. Are you sure Reuben and Simeon got land?
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
see
pretty
that
sure.
in 49. I thought they were scattered in Israel. I don't think they got any.
The Levites were scattered, so Levi was scattered. I'm almost pretty sure.
That is the least convincing statement.
I'm
that's
pretty
ever
sure
made,
you're
like
I
possible.
mean, we don't need to look ahead yet. 'Cause
You're
I
in
think we literally talk about it at the front of 49.
Yeah.
At the start of 49. But I was just kind of curious if is Jacob getting a share and then his sons are also getting 2 shares.
Joseph's getting a share.
No,
Yeah.
Joseph is not getting
over.
a share. One of Joseph's sons gets a share, but he's blessing both sons. So
Right.
Joseph technically gets 2 shares because Manasseh and Ephraim get land.
So
they
he's
get
getting
double.
a firstborn.
Joseph's getting a double portion of
He's getting a
inheritance.
double portion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I that was a genuine question. I was like, is Joseph also getting a share and then his sons are getting a share each? Like, are they getting the Reuben and Simeon shares?
No, because
So-
here's nobody can see this online, but
We're looking at a map. You can just
here's
describe
Reuben.
what you're looking at.
Here's Simeon. Simeon's inside the land of Judah. There's Reuben, and then you have Ephraim, and then Manasseh east
Yeah.
and Manasseh west.
Right.
So,
Manasseh's.
and then if you see the Levites, Levi does not get any land. That's
Right.
where he talks, like we'll see in the blessing in 49, where he basically talks about them being scattered.
Okay.
Did you guys see anything on why Joseph wanted him to uncross his hands and put Manasseh first, or vice versa?
In terms of the why,
I
Yeah.
would say it's just because of
Other
like,
than it being the
other-
birth order.
yeah,
It's a
other-
tradition.
The
Right.
tradition.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting that Jacob is doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
because
I-
it's essentially it's similar to what has happened with him with Esau,
Right.
and then also not blessing the oldest from Leah's children. Jacob was Joseph was his firstborn with Rachel.
Right.
But that, I mean, again, I don't know Jewish tradition here, but I don't know, would that constitute his firstborn? Would that be a second firstborn?
I don't know.
think it would. So he bypasses Reuben and Levi for the blessing, and he gives the blessing to Judah.
Yep.
But then he's also giving a blessing to Joseph. So
Here's what Moody has to say. It says Jacob intentionally granted the preeminent blessing to the younger rather than the older, as has been the pattern throughout Genesis. This highlights the sovereignty of God in election, Romans 9:10 through 16. But it also anticipates the similar unconventional election of Jacob's fourth oldest son, Judah, as the recipient of the messianic blessing in the next generation.
all roads lead right back to Calvinism. That's what he wanted to say the
least-
entire time.
at least according to the Moody commentary.
Was Moody Reformed Calvinist?
I don't know. I don't think so.
When Moody
Well, I
didn't
mean,
actually
he's
write
biblical, so
Oh,
thank you, Joby.
that.
It's in the
We need to
Bible.
make thank you, Joby
It's in the
shirts now. Is that what
Just
we're
says
switching
what it
to?
says.
We're just gonna do like
Bible says what it says, man.
what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna put like a little statue of Joby right here, and we'll bow to it every single time we make a mistake. Right? Make a little idol. No, not
No,
into it.
No.
All right, I feel you on that.
I don't
All
think
right.
Joby'd be into it either.
I don't. Yeah,
I'm
it'd be
sure.
awkward. Anything else on 48? Genesis 48 before we move on. All right, let's hit 49. So we will take a volunteer because you're going to read all of Genesis 49.
I'll do it.
Volunteer.
Oh man, you just said it right before you.
Oh, darn.
Oh, man,
Dang it.
Shucks. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come. Assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the firstfruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence. Because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Let my soul come in not into their counsel. O my glory, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and in their willfulness they had hamstrung oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, Your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as a lioness who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he was washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall be at Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant. So he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant at forced labor. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that his rider falls backward. I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Raiders shall raid Gad, but he shall raid at their heels. Asher's food shall be rich, he shall yield royal delicacies. Naphtali is a doe let loose that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a spring. His branches run over the wall. The archers bitterly attack him, shot at him, and harassed him severely. Yet his bow remained unmoved. His arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, by the Almighty who will bless you, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that crouches beneath, blessings of the breasts of the womb. The blessings of your father are mighty beyond the blessings of my parents, up to the bounties of the everlasting hills. May they be on the head of Joseph, and on the brow of him who was set apart from his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and at evening dividing the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each with the blessing suitable to him. Then he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the land of Machpelah, and the east of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite to possess as a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is in it were bought from the Hittites. When Jacob finished commanding his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people.
Thank you very much for reading that. So obviously these blessings are very powerful to read through, and you're just wondering, like, all these kids are hearing everything that's being said, and so there are some people whose chests are puffed out a little bit more, some other people that are maybe a little navel gazy, but for that entire section, one of the notes I made is, may we all be suitable of a blessing like Judah's. Just to reread Judah's blessing that starts in verse 8, Judah, your brothers shall praise you, your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies, your sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as a lioness, who dares rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him. And to him shall the obedience of the peoples. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He was washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. So when we talk about the lions, Judah is a lion's cub. I mean, there's strength, there's courage, there's boldness there. We see that with David in 2 Samuel 5. And, the scepter talked about there in verse 10. I mean, that's a real authority. The scepter should not depart from Judah. And again, the authority of God comes through the line of Judah in the person and work of Jesus Christ, right? And so, again, we can't live up to that, right? But, I mean, what a tremendous thing it would be later in our lives, like, for our Father to be able to give us a blessing like that does not, imagine being in, Reuben, Simeon, or Levi's position.
right,
It's like,
exactly.
yeesh, sorry, Dad. Like, it'd be one of those moments.
Yeah, I mean, in this moment, when you start looking at Jacob as a father, and how often we actually can see God being portrayed as a father as well. I think it could be good to consider the significance of the question, do we treat our children different from one another? And some need their wills broken, and others are fairly compliant and move along with the program of maturity without requiring a strong hold on the tether. I mean, you just kind of, we all have kids, and I would say we probably can point to one kid that's like,
They're not all the same.
no, I have one daughter who literally, if I just look at her, it's like done.
Yeah.
I have another that the look may not work and the words will, but you go through here, and what I think would maybe sound like some they are harsh words. Don't get me wrong. They're harsh words, but in a way, every one of these sons is hearing exactly what they probably need to hear in that moment. Every single one of them. And I think God does that with us constantly, that we get checked all the time in a way that would be most appropriate to whatever we're struggling with in that moment.
Agreed. Other stuff on Genesis 49?
I like how when we talked about Judah, it says your brother shall praise you. I think it's just showing that the line of David and how much praise was going to come up to Judah. Sorry, I should move myself up a little bit more.
It's all good.
So, yeah, it's just like there's a lot of prophetic things in here, and the fact that Judah shall be praised, and he will be praised because David comes from the line of Judah. Another thing is Dan. When he talks about Dan, you'll be the judge. Who was a Dananite that was a judge? Anybody know? Samson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have when you talk about Benjamin being a ravenous wolf and winning his victories, a lot of that's going to happen when the line of Judah takes its throne, which kind of goes into Revelation. But look at Saul. Saul had a lot of victories through Judah, and the fact that David won him a lot of victories when he was king. So it's just kind of interesting to read these blessings and then kind of look further into Scripture.
Well, yeah, and Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and at the evening dividing the spoil. And you pointed out how King Saul was a part of the tribe of Benjamin. Mm-hmm. And he was certainly a great king until he lost his favor. He lost his anointing.
And how did he lose that anointing?
By stopped relying on God.
Well, yeah, but God told him to kill everything when I think it was the Amalekites.
Oh, yeah,
Amalekites.
The Amalekites,
yeah.
And he divided the spoils.
Yep.
Look right here, in the evening devouring the prey, and in the morning devouring the prey, and at the evening dividing the spoils.
Yeah, and he was told not to take anything.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
Yep. I don't know. I was just like, that's what I was thinking when I was reading it.
Okay.
So it was pretty telling.
Very good.
And then Jacob's death. I thought it was strange. So he wants to be buried with his father, who Isaac and Rebekah, and then Abraham and Sarah. But notice he buried Leah. So that means they made the journey over to there, and he buried Leah when she died. But when Rachel died, they buried her on the side of the road, which is now Bethlehem. So it was like, did Leah get the rights of a first wife because she was married to him first, so she's buried with him? I thought that was interesting as well.
I didn't catch that, but
yeah, I do. The other thing I was going to point out here is 49:11. It's Judah's blessing. Binding his foal or donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He has washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. To me, that seems to point to the future coming of Jesus, the riding in of the donkey, tethering it to the vine of, if you want to kind of go from the stump of Jesse, and from the lineage of David, but also washing his garments in wine. You hear the blood. I mean, to me, it's a pretty clear prophecy in that moment that there's a foreshadowing to the coming of Christ at a future date.
It was like the death, and then also communion.
I'm looking up something on that real quick. Y'all keep going. or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever thing. I'm just looking something.
No, I can see the communion with the blood of grapes, but then also garments and wine is just like the blood.
Yep.
I mean, the blood of Christ.
Yeah, and the note here, in a preliminary way, this prophecy was fulfilled in the prosperity of David and Solomon, but in a fuller way by our Lord at his first coming. It will be fulfilled completely at his second advent. Thus, Jacob and Joseph both died in hope. They did not receive the things the things promised. So they didn't receive these things as they were promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. They were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Indeed, one that all who trust in God will share with them. So, I mean, I think it's one of those things, and I guess if you wanted to kind of look at it from just our point of view now, you know, we may not. I've said this before. You know, my mom, and I point back to my mother. She was raised in a home, didn't have indoor plumbing until she was 16, so not exactly a prosperous family. And so she worked really hard, just 30 or 40 years at the same company, just worked every day, provided, you know, came home, and she was the primary breadwinner in the family, came home, made dinner, made sure everything was, I mean, she kept the house. She did both roles, a provider, but also dad was there too. And dad had his role, but it was just not in the same vein that I would probably define what I would in my own home. But mom, I always said mom kind of worked hard, not knowing that she was probably never going to attain maybe what she would like to attain. However, knowing that she would be leaving her children in a spot where they could attain it, that's where I kind of see, you know, Joseph and Jacob here. It's, I did not get to attain this, but I have put everything in order so that the future generations may attain it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think some people are snowplow people. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about that before. I had the realization last year at some point. It's like, I wonder if everything that I'm doing right now with Undaunted.Life is for James and Eli. Right. And I talked about how, you know, does anybody know who Alexander the Great's father was?
Philip of Macedon.
Philip of Macedonia. And so, but almost nobody remembers that. Right, maybe 1 out of 100 people know who Philip the First is.
3 out of 1.
Right. And so, sorry, Derek. Somebody went to public school.
I did.
I think all of us did. Go us. But yeah, so I bet Philip first thought he was the point. But, you know, I guess, you know, historically speaking, Alexander the Great was. Yeah, I bet Billy Graham's dad thought he was the point. And then, you know, Billy was the point. And so I kind of think the same thing as far as that goes. Going back to what you were saying about Genesis 49:11. Yeah, apparently that is a well-known direct description, future description of Christ, you know, talking about his triumphal entry of Christ in his garments. That's poetic language that are themes of judgment and sacrifice, victory that are associated with the Messiah. So good catch there, unless you read it in the commentary and pawned it off as your own, and that's plagiarism, sir. And we do not appreciate that here at the Forging Table. We try to give credit to people as much as possible, but believe it or not, we've made it all the way to the very final chapter of Genesis. And so, yeah, I guess we can take another volunteer. Who wants to
Am I just going to finish it all off?
Well, I mean, gosh, I guess if you're volunteering, well, I'll tell you what, you can read 1 through 21, and then Derek will be the final. We'll go through the final stuff on 22 through 28. Yes. So, 1 through 21 of Genesis 50.
Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for it, for that is how many are required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, I am about to die in my tomb that I have hewed out for myself in the land of Canaan. There shall you bury me. Now therefore let me please go up and bury my father, then I will return. And Pharaoh answered, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father. With him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his household, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as the household of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's household. Only their children, their flocks, and their herds were left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen. It was a very great company. When they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, they lamented there with a very great and grievous lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning on the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "This is a grievous mourning by the Egyptians." Therefore, the place was named Abel Mizraim. It is beyond the Jordan. Thus his sons did for him as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, which Abraham bought with a field from Ephron the Hittite to possess as a burying place. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father.
Through 21.
Oh, through 21. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him." So they sent a message to Joseph saying, "Your father gave this command before he died." Man, these guys. Say to Joseph, "Please forgive the transgressions of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgressions of the servants of God of your father." Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for I am in the place of God. As for you meant for evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus be comforted." Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them.
Yeah, I mean, with this, especially with that last section, you have Joseph's brothers. There's still pieces of work here. There's no mourning initially. Apparently, it's just, selfish concern, right?
Yeah.
Has this all been an act? But now daddy's gone. Like, is this going to be a problem? But I mean, gosh, some of the most powerful verses in Genesis, if not the entire Bible. But Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." I mean, I just immediately think about the crucifixion of Christ. And again, the disciples just not picking up on the thread, as none of us would have had we been there either, not knowing what was going to happen. And then, your leader, your rabbi is killed, and you think that's it. This is game over. There is no coming back from this. And, obviously the Jews and the people that were involved, Rome and all that, with the killing of Jesus, obviously I forget, I don't know if it was you last week or something like that. That was a quote that you read, maybe it was last week or 2 weeks ago, where it's just like, Satan, gosh, he's got it all together, because he's not omniscient, right? No. He's not omnipresent. Oh, I guess he might be no, he's not. So he's not omni anything, right? But he's really, really good, and he's a lot of places, right? He kind of has a really good idea. And how many things did he have to get in place to kill Jesus, right? To get them to, they were just screaming Hosanna a few days ago, and now, they're basically yelling crucify him. It's like you got it all squared away for this exact moment. And just kidding. God meant this. Like, this was meant for it from the beginning.
And Howard Wickersham, we were talking about him. He and I had a conversation where he posed a question to me. He's like, "Man, one of my guys in my Bible study asked me," he goes, "Is God the author of sin?" Because sin is used, as you said in that last a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
That what was it?
That
comment.
There's basically there's a word that's somewhere in between cause and allows.
Yes.
That would describe what God does within His creation.
And so when we talked about that, I was like, God is not the author of sin. What God is the author of redemption. And so, sin can author certain things in our life, but God will take that sin and use it for good, and He will redeem it. And that's what we see through Joseph. That's what we see through Jesus Christ, is that what people meant for evil, God meant for good.
I think when you look at verse 20 here, I mean, isn't it kind of the entire point of the Genesis story? I mean, we get introduced to the idea of blessing literally right off the bat, like from creation, a blessing in and of itself. And then once the decision for rebellion is made, sin and blessing continue together. I mean, you see that humanity growing in their sin, and you see righteousness grow in those who God has essentially selected, to carry out his plan. So you see Noah, the righteousness of Noah, and God sees that and says, that's my man right there. See it in Abraham. You see it in Jacob. You see it in Joseph. But over and over again, you're seeing this, and you see this righteousness grow. But why would God create a world that he knew would go awry? Why did God allow the serpent into the garden? Why did God not eliminate sin as soon as it started? Why do we live in a fallen world? Why is there evil and suffering? And literally, I guess I would say, kind of doesn't matter, does it? Because if you kind of think about it, we see throughout Genesis evil, horrible acts occurring over and over and over again, sinful things. And yet every time God has his pieces in place for checkmate to essentially outflank them. And you see that, and that's, to me, when you read verse 20, you're going, yeah, okay, what you intended for evil, God intended for good. I would actually say, to me, it's as simple as that. You could be an absolute, God is essentially going to corner you at some point. He will corner you at some point. You will have to make a move. It's what I was talking about with the chess thing a couple of weeks ago. At some point, he's going to have checkmate on you. It's just, you're going to end up doing what he wants in the end.
I will not be playing another game on chess.com.
I get it.
That was an embarrassing experience. I lost to a robot.
Yeah.
That looked like a middle-aged man. with
Listen,
nothing else to
everybody
do.
does. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm telling you,
I am
very,
ashamed.
very, very great, great chess players, they are more challenged by a computer than they are typically by people.
Yeah. However, they're playing things that have quantum computing. I went to chess.com and I picked the lowest level of guy and got beat by that person.
Yeah.
Okay. So, here we go. But Derek, we are going to be ending Genesis with you. So
All
you
right.
put that mustache on the mic and you go ahead and read 22 through the end of the
Let's
end of
do
the
it.
book. Let's go.
So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house. Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation, the children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in the coffin in Egypt.
That wraps up Genesis. So, guys, before we announce the next book of the Bible that we are getting into, I would like to get all of your thoughts on Genesis. Any big things that kind of came through for you as we wrap this up. A lot of good work by our crew. So shout out to everybody that recorded during Genesis.
I think Genesis is a book that over and over again we can kind of see transformation. And why does transformation happen? I think number one, you have to kind of want it to happen. But I think especially when you look at God, sometimes God has to break you. God broke Jacob, quite literally. God broke Judah at the end here. That this idea of self-will, self-sufficiency, self-indulgence, self-reliance, self-satisfaction, self-centeredness, self-conceit, and self-preservation don't simply go away because we tell them to. That complete surrender is the only way that transformation occurs. And I think there's so many examples throughout Genesis where you see that complete submission and that I cannot rely on myself. I'm not going to self my way out of this. I have to rely on God. I have to turn to him. I can tell you right now, I'm dealing with some stuff right now professionally that I'm just going I can will my way out of this. I'll work harder.
Yeah.
And at some point, probably today, because this is a good reminder, but at some point I have to just stop and just go, God, what do I do? How do I handle this? I'm obviously missing something.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what I would take out of it.
Very good. Mr. Horn.
When I look at Genesis, I like to think of Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And, we're talking about the Trinity here. God is the same yesterday and today and forever. And I just when I read through Genesis, I see just normal people like us who God has chosen to do incredible things. And those people, through times and trials and tribulations, had doubt, self-doubt. They had doubt in God, even though God could sit there and tell them, I'm going to give you the number of descendants as they are the stars, and if there's sand on the ground. But you have no heir and you still doubt, like Abraham did. But God came through. God is a person. God is a God of his word. And it doesn't matter what you do, he's going to stay with his word. And he did that with Abraham, even through Abraham's doubt of him and Sarah having Ishmael. And he's going to do the same thing with Isaac. Isaac had his doubts in regards to Jacob, but his plan was Jacob. And Jacob had his doubts, and God was still faithful. And that's one thing that I look at when I look through Genesis. It just really made me look at how God is faithful even through our faithlessness. And that, it emboldened my faith in what God can do.
All right. Very good. Derek.
Yeah, man. I love the story. Just the whole, I was just listening to a podcast talking about how important stories are, are the way we interpret things. And there's so many amazing stories just in Genesis. We haven't got to, Exodus or anything like that yet. And just how we can relate, thousands of years ago to what's happening here. I thought, it's super cool. And then just the recency bias of Joseph, the story here, just how, good life he's chosen, his life falls apart, but he stays faithful. He works up, he becomes head of the household for Potiphar, and then back in jail, but he stays faithful, works hard, God blesses him. So, and then all the way through, he's blessed throughout the whole thing, but he never wavers in his faith, at least fully. So just continue to trust in the Lord, even when times are hard, that he is going to be faithful to work all things together for good for you. So I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I want to go all the way back to the garden just to say Satan was a dragon, Ryan. I'm just saying, of all the things. I know you're not real big on the whole dragon thing, but can we just go ahead and admit that Satan's a dragon? Come on, even Bible AI thought that Satan was a dragon.
Man, you know what? The only reason I think Satan was probably a dragon is because there's dragons in Tolkien movies.
Don't. We can't come to the end here, but in all actuality, because I was a little nervous about those first parts of Genesis, because you get into young Earth, old Earth, and you get into, well, I've been to Kentucky, so I know everything, and so because I saw a big boat in the middle of a field and all, yeah,
that's why he got Noah.
That's right.
But really, I'm kind of struck by Joseph as well. I mean, Ryan, you said Joseph, one of your favorite characters in the Bible, because we did a ranking or a draft of people from the Bible that we would want to do dinner with, and I never really even considered Joseph whenever I was making my cheat sheet of who I'd want at my table or whatever. But it's because I struggle so much with perspective, because whenever I have something that's an obstacle that can be really, really small or absolutely soul crushing, I treat it all with the same amount of piss and vinegar and anger and and I can do this in this grit and this resilience, and I'm the guy that says that you need to do that, and so I need to model it. And it's just man, I'm sure Joseph had his moments, right? We don't see any of them really here where he kind of doubted or any of those types of things, but it's just we live in an era where justice is this word that's just kind of bandied about cheaply, right? Social justice or, justice for, some sort of microaggression. We just live in that culture. And it's he suffered so much injustice throughout his life, from being sold into slavery all the way through to even whenever he was, at Potiphar's house, and just different things along the way. And even it was an injustice in a way that he had to face his brothers without immediately telling them who he was. There's injustice in that too. And I have a strong justice bend in my personality. That's why I'm so vehemently and ardently against abortion, because it's one of the most unjust things. It's the most bullying thing that I could possibly think of. It's one thing when a big person picks on a small person. It's another thing when a big person kills a small person that can't protect themselves. And so I think just studying Joseph and seeing, you have these times where you get this woe is me moment, this Nancy Kerrigan moment, why me? And you're just sitting there like crying on the ice. And it's just kind of like, I've been there sitting there crying on the ice about, how terrible things are happening to me and all that. But just that little bit of perspective. Every now and then my wife will kind of smack me around. I'll say something that's kind of negative, even about Undaunted.Life. And she'll just be like, hey, weren't you just telling me yesterday about 2 guys that emailed you from different parts of the world saying how the words you say into a microphone are helping them be a better husband and father? And she'll just kind of ask me that. And I'm like, oh, just little things like that. And the impact that we've been able to have around this table, modeling Bible study like this, right? And this all came out of disobedience by me, right? Because I wasn't staying true. I wasn't studying the Word of God. I was doing a lot of reading, but I wasn't reading the Word of God. And then here we are years later. We've tackled dozens and dozens and dozens of chapters of the Bible. And I don't feel like it's all culminating in this moment, but I do feel the weight of the announcement of the next book of the Bible that we're going to be getting into. We're going to be doing Romans. And so this is something that we've talked about for a while. Usually the next book kind of becomes pretty apparent to me, but I wanted to get some confirmation from our group of guys. We got about 10 or so guys that rotate in. But I do want to let everybody know that's listening this far in, we're going to be approaching Romans differently than we have any other book of the Bible, differently than Matthew, Acts, Nehemiah, everything. Romans feels so big. And I was talking to Matt Chandler, and he was like, look, Romans is Mount Everest. And you don't try to climb Mount Everest as fast as possible. You climb Mount Everest as fast as is appropriate, right? And so there are 16 chapters of the book of Romans. And so we're not going to be doing Romans 1 one week, and then Romans 2 the next, and then Romans 3. What we've decided as a group, it's going to be an experiment. It's going to be a little bit weird. It's going to be a challenge to all of us, is we are going to start next week, guys, in Romans 1:1. Okay, Romans 1:1. We're going to hit the timer. We're going to hit record. We're just going to go for about an hour, see how far we get. So we may get to Romans 1:9, right? And so then the next week we'll pick right back up there. The way we're all looking at it, because everyone's been buying different commentaries, different study books, and different things, and we got a whole bunch over there in the the Forging Table library. We very well may be in Romans for a year, right? And that's just how we're going to treat it. So because I know behind the scenes you guys don't really know this, and even guys sitting at the table, you don't really know what's going through my head. I'm seeing everything that we need to cover. And then there's little jokes and little side stories and all that. And then, okay, how long do we let that go? Because I'm still driving. I got to make sure we get to the next thing because we got time. And, we don't want people, they only bargain for an hour. We can't give them an hour and 10 minutes of those types of things. So we're going to kind of take our hands off the wheel just a little bit. We're going to follow some rabbit trails. And this is one of those things whenever I talked to you guys on the back porch that one night and I pitched y'all the idea of doing it this way to where it's like, this is going to require a different level of preparation for all of us. Because all of us need to be in Romans for the next year. My wife is, going to be communicating with the other wives. She's going to be letting them know, hey, they covered Romans 1:1 through Romans 1:7, for this, or I don't know how many. We would probably cover maybe a couple of chapters over like 4 recordings or something like that. And so it's a group of people where we're pretty much all doing life together. We're pretty much in the same Sunday schools or in kind of the same communities, and we're going to be going through the giant of all the Pauline letters, right? And so I just feel like we've been sitting on this for so long, and then I finally get to tell everyone about it. And then, next time we record, we'll actually be getting into it. So, guys, very, very thankful for all 3 of you. Thank you to everyone in the audience for watching all these episodes on Genesis. And, make sure you're sharing this around. So if you got guys in your life, they're like, I don't really know how to do this. I don't really know what to do for our Bible study. Just cheat. Do exactly what we're doing. So whatever we're doing this week, that's what you're doing for next week or something like that. But we're going to go ahead and leave it there. We have wrapped up Genesis. Quick resilience boost before we let you guys out of here. At Undaunted.Life, our mission is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. Crossway. We love Crossway. We love talking to their authors. They have a Forging Table starter set on their website. If you want that and you want to get it at a supreme discount, go to the show notes and you'll see the instructions for that. Logos Bible software, which we will be leaning on heavily during Romans, along with some other materials. You should be able to use that, guys, but use it as a discount. The discount code link is there in the show notes. And then also, we are a donation-based ministry. There's no way we can pull off what we're doing with the forging table or with anything else that we're doing without guys just like you. And if you hung with us all the way to the beginning, there may be a nice special guest for the first few recordings of Romans. So make sure you tune in next week. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.